We're here. We are super sorry for the delay. We've been having a couple technical difficulties, but we're up and we're ready to go. Are you guys ready?
I'm ready. I'm good. Y'all ready? Let's do this.
Awesome. I'm going to try to make sure that we include those on Periscope in here. But I don't make any promises just because it's off to the side and sometimes I kind of forget to look over there. So hi guys, I see some of you have joined us. I was just explaining to everybody that we apologize for being tardy to the party, but we were having some technical difficulties, but we're super excited about tonight to discuss our almost anniversary. Tomorrow's our anniversary. We've been married 5 years and what we've learned and gained from this process and how we plan to grow from here, because our goal is never to remain stagnant or comfortable in where we are. We want to get better. We want to be together for forever. And to do that, it requires that we put in some work and understand that it's not going to be easy all the time and take some time. Hi, Linda. Hi, Kayla. All thanks. Super excited. So we have a list of questions and Robbie is going to pull them up. But before we do that, okay? In the name of Jesus, thank you right now for peace, for covering, for bringing us to being in your presence. We're excited about sharing with our brothers and sisters in Christ and some of us blood brothers and sisters. But God, everything that you've given us, we pour it out effectively for you, God, because we want to bring you glory. And we understand that this is active discipleship by bringing people into you and showing them the beauty in marriage, that it's not all bad, that it's not all hard, that it's not all tough, but God, it can be beautiful in its time. And even the work is beautiful because the harvest is great. God, I'm thankful for everything that's going to go forth tonight. I'm thankful for the topics. I'm thankful for the questions. I'm thankful for the fellowship. In Jesus' name, amen. Yay! So, honey, you want to go ahead and pull up those questions for me? Okay, why don't you read the first question off? I'm trying to pull off Periscope.
All right. Everybody ready? The first question is, how do you effectively or ineffectively use love languages?
You want to answer first?
Nope.
Okay, so how do I effectively try to use love languages? I think the first thing is to identify them in each other, because your love language is not necessarily going to be the same as the other one. So for me to receive acts of service. So when you do little things around the house, when you're cleaning the car or you're running errands, or little things like actual active things, that's my love language to receive. And then the next, I think my second one is affirmation. Affirmation would be my second one. But the way that I give love is typically words of affirmation. So which is a little different. So my second one I receive, but every year for our anniversary, I do statuses or posts like that to my husband, not for him to respond to them, because my husband is rarely on social media at all, but it's more of my heart speaking to him and acknowledging who he is to me and giving him the recognition that he's due. And I do that through words. I love words. And I think that it's so vital when I'm communicating with him that he hears it often. And then even if he doesn't see it, that he sees it later, because sometimes you have to go back to things. It ain't always going to be easy. And so you want to be able to go back through this social media and remind yourself that, hey, even though my wife is yelling at me right now, she loved me enough to do this, and this. And so that's important for me as far as love languages go. I think that ineffective use of love languages is expecting others to know your love language immediately. You come to a relationship brand new, they don't know you like at all. And so you have to teach them about you, just like they have to teach you about them. And so if you come in expecting that everybody likes this, and this, and that's the way you miss the opportunity to love them properly. So that is the ineffective way of using love languages.
Yes, sir. Yeah, it's recommended that you just agree, just nod your head and say yes. It helps things just keep moving. Yes, I agree. Do you want me to answer that question?
I do want you to answer the question.
Let me read the question again.
Do you think that you communicate effectively in love language? In my love language?
Which one?
Acts of service or words of affirmation.
That you communicate those well?
No, do you communicate those well to me?
To you? Yeah, I would say so.
Are you sure?
Yeah, so my wife is a requester of things, which makes it easy to do acts of service and was it the giving of gifts? You like receiving gifts, right?
See, guys, this is what I'm talking about. My love language to receive is acts of service and words of affirmation.
Words of affirmation. Yes. So you say nice things, and yeah, you give gifts. I mean, that's pretty direct, straightforward. I would say I find it easy to do. You know, you're very easy to say good things about, which is helpful.
So even if I didn't have like great attributes and I wasn't this amazing wife, you don't think you could pull it out and just give me some compliments?
That's a good question. See, part of actually, desiring someone is there's something desirable about them.
I like that.
So, I mean, it's not hard to provide words of affirmation for someone you actually have something invested in and it's meaningful. And receiving gifts, I don't know a lot of people who don't like receiving gifts.
Guys, I never said anything about gifts. Say that.
Not say gifts?
No.
You said that's how you like receive,
But you know
right?
what?
Is that not how you receive? Did I hear that wrong? Did I hear that wrong?
You did. But I'm going to take that as I'm going to get a really nice gift for our anniversary because he keeps thinking about gifts.
You said words of affirmation and
acts of service.
Well, that's almost the same thing, right? Receiving gifts are
okay, ladies.
Acts of service. I see. My act of service is making sure that she receives gifts. So I think that's where we'll land on that. So
what?
Is that not accurate? That's not how
acts of service is okay. Remember how? Okay, so true story. I have anxiety when there's like a lot of mess around me, or if it's super cluttered, it's chaotic, all of those things. With my daddy, he likes things to be a certain way, and so I kind of picked that up from him. And when Rob and I first got married, it's very different. He knows his own system. He puts his things where he wants them, and they're usually everywhere. But granted, he knows where his stuff is. I don't function well like that, and so I explained to him it would be really helpful for me if he would pick his stuff up and kind of help me put things away where they should be. I consider that an act of service. I consider when you do that is showing me love because you actually heard me and then you're actively following through on it.
Agreed. This is very true. There's no lie in that. We are significantly different in household maintenance. I am a priority of the highest order first. And Petra is I would say a household maintenance perfectionist, which is a good thing because as a bachelor, I had very little and now there's a whole lot more. So there's a lot more to do. It's fair. Mm-hmm. For example, I could pack up and move with just my car. And now I have to call people and get trucks and all kind of stuff. So things have changed a lot. Mm-hmm. So I've had to adapt to our differences, our unique differences. But I will say that she does appreciate when I clean, like when I clean in a way that meets her requirements, because there's a difference. I think everyone's experienced that. There's a distinct difference between like your level of clean,
yes,
and then someone else's level of clean. I don't know.
That's definitely
right.
Yeah.
So, but I'm a guy. She's a lady. I would hate to be with someone who, that has a lower level of clean than a girl, at least. Obviously, that has a lower level of cleanliness than I do. Yeah. So I do appreciate.
But you're not dirty, honey.
I'm not dirty. Yeah. Don't get the wrong idea. But no. There's levels to this, right?
Yes.
So yeah, I do appreciate that. So that is my act of service. It is I get sometimes ding on that more often than I think I should because I work from home oftentimes.
That's true.
So there's a higher expectation think that you have to do all the stuff in the house because you're home. It's not true. It's not true. So just let y'all know that for people that work from home or they're doing stuff at home doesn't mean they're not actually working, and so they can't do household chores while working. If anyone else encourage my wife and those with those words every once in a while for my sake to improve our marriage, just throw those out there every once in a while on Facebook. Shoot her a text. That'll help. I greatly appreciate it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So with that being said,
should we go to question number 2?
Yes.
Okay.
I think that's a great idea. What's question number 2?
So,
by the way, if you know of anyone that's on Periscope, go ahead and tell them to move over to Facebook Live. The Periscope was not working, so we're not on Periscope right now. I had to turn it off. Go ahead.
Okay. All right. So the next one is handling extended family / in-laws.
I would.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Go ahead.
No, I said I want you to lead it.
I have good in-laws, and
I do too. I have really good in-laws.
A really good family around me. So I'm thankful that I don't have, some there's can be challenges there at times. I will say we as a unit, us together, we're in agreement that we have our own relationship. We're kind of in a silo, right? We do have people around us. We do have people we engage with, but we are siloed. Our relationship is our relationship.
Yeah.
So though people may have inputs and people may be able to want to provide encouragement, advice, all those kind of things.
Our relationship is ours.
Yeah. Nothing enters in without first being kind of filtered first by both of us.
Mm-hmm.
And then we determine if it's something that's going to be good for us.
Very, very fair. Our parents don't chime in unless we go to them about something. I think that would be accurate. Like sometimes, of course, they'll give us a little advice for the boys, which is fair. We've never had children before. Our children are children, and yes. So sometimes they will give us advice about that. I'm not super concerned about that, but as far as our marriage goes and our relationship, they don't really jump in unless we go to them specifically about something. But I think that we were also pretty clear from the very beginning that we want them to be invested in our marriage through prayer, through covering, and through godly counsel. And godly counsel means not just giving it, but also being prompted by the Holy Spirit before you give it. And I think that they followed that well. I think on both sides. I don't think that we've had that type of issue. That being said, with our extended family, it doesn't always translate the best. So sometimes, even though I may be frustrated about something that one of his family members did, or someone that he doesn't really know that's in his extended familial circle, I try to make an effort to talk to him in private about that. I don't like to talk about that in front of other people. I also don't blame him for whatever issues I find with his family members, because I remember he is an individual and he's invested in me, not necessarily them. And so their actions are not necessarily a direct reflection of what he desires for me. And so I can't go to him and, chew his head off just because, they did this, this, and this. Now, let me also be very honest and say that was a process, because there were some situations where I was like, if you don't get so-and-so because they're doing such and such and you're not covering me, you're not this. And then I had to pull back and be like, well, actually, I really didn't give him an opportunity to fix the situation because he didn't even know it was a situation, because he's also still learning me. He doesn't always know what's going to bother me or what's going to get under my skin. And he certainly doesn't know what his family member is going to do at a certain period of time all the time. So I think that I had to learn that.
That's fair.
As well.
Yeah.
I think that would be an accurate representation.
I think so.
I think that takes us into, did you have anything else that you wanted to add to that?
No.
Okay, I think that's going to take us into the next one. How do we handle disagreements, challenges, conflict within our marriage?
Okay.
I will say that before we got married, one thing that we agreed was we weren't ever going to say that we argued or we fight. We have discussions. We do that because we always want to have a positive things, not because we're delusional, but because we understand that we're power. So negativity over our relationship, over our communication, that's going You're going to be tussling. You're going to be frustrated all the time. But if you're having a discussion, that means we're going to be communicating about what it is that us. I will say that I keep seeing my screen saying trying to reconnect. So if we're unconnecting or something like that, I apologize, guys. I'm hoping that it's still capturing us as we go and that you're able to kind of catch whatever you miss. Like I was saying, we're very strategic in the way that we communicate with each other and how we phrase that. We're very, very, very protective of our peace in our home. Very protective. To the point that we don't have a lot of people over. We have specific times, like I do a Bible study, so they're over then, but I don't have a lot of guests in our home. We don't have a lot of conflict. We've had maybe 2 major discussions, maybe 3.
Yeah, 2 or 3.
In 5 years. I mean,
and it's not to say there's no ongoing challenges,
right?
But I mean, the big thing is that, you know, if you're not patient, if you're not, you know, a little bit long suffering and willing to actually talk and communicate, you know, somewhat mature, man, anything can sneak in and just wind up really ruining a lot of things, and pettiness and bitterness and all that stuff. So when we try to talk about everything, you know, be extremely upfront. You know, if there's an issue, there's no delay in addressing it. At least that's where we've gotten to. Where there's no trying to internalize and think about it and like, let me see how I should even talk about it. It's like, just, you know, deliver it as best you can and hope the other person is able to receive it and hear from you, and then just work it out from there. I mean, because the big picture is, you know, what's the point in taking the vows if every single time you're going to be, you know, you're going to try to break down, you know, your marriage because of an argument. I mean, that's a guarantee you will have an argument. You will have some difficulties, but, you know, keeping first things first at all times and making sure that you're always prioritizing, you know, your marriage and seeing what will, even if you have to, you know, lose in that situation, that it'll make sure that your marriage is stable. And that's not to say take hits and take
right. Don't go to battle just to go to battle.
But just make sure that, you know, your marriage is, you know, the bedrock of your marriage is that you have agreed to be established on how you're going to handle these situations. And we agreed very early on, you know, here's how we'll address this. And, you know,
and how we'll address each other. Yeah.
And so a lot of that stuff just, it hasn't been a challenge, but I think it's because it's, you know, I always tell people, you know, when someone upsets you and you be ready to fight, you made that decision a long time ago. You didn't just suddenly decide, hey, you're like, the next person stuffed my shoe, I'm ready to go. Getting it. You decide these things, you know, in your mind. You've thought about these things, and so you've already primed your mind to do these things. And so, you know, what we did was we primed ourselves and saying, hey, here's what we're going to do. Here's how we'll respond to these situations. You know, pinky promise.
Yes.
And that's how we've gone about doing it consistently. And of course, if a situation comes where we don't, you know, you call the person out in love and say, hey, this is what we agreed to.
Right.
So I think that's a big part of it.
I do think that's a part of it. I think it's also just the mentality in general of this. If this is going to be a long lasting, forever relationship, then y'all can't get sidetracked. Like,
can I get sidetracked though? My wife looks really pretty in the video screen here. Yeah, I'm like looking. It looks really good over here. So I agree. It's easy to get sidetracked. But let's get back to the topic at hand.
So he's so good. See,
these cheekbones are just amazing.
But seriously, you can't get sidetracked in your marriage, because that's what disagreements will do. That's what arguments will do. That will do constant bickering, constant holding things in, constant not investing or trusting your partner to take your responses. You have to openly communicate your heart with them. They just cannot read your mind, guys. Like, and that was something I had to learn. Like, I'm be honest with y'all, I used to go hide in the closet and cry because I'd be like, I don't know what is going on. He's not listening. He doesn't understand me. We had such a good relationship. We communicate so well. And then he married me and changed. But he didn't. It didn't happen. First of all, I think a part of it too was me moving right after we got married. I was homesick. So everything was blown out of proportion. I really missed home. So I'm happy to be home. I'm happy that he made the decision to bring us home as well. But in general, I think that when you step back and you see the bigger picture and realize if longevity is your goal, focusing on minute little things that you can handle in a conversation by blowing it out of proportion is unwise. It's ridiculous. Forever is not going to happen if you're always separate. You have to be a unit. You're not roommates. You're together, like together.
You know, that brings an important point. I read I was watching a little YouTube clip earlier about a comedian. He said it took him 15 years of like hard work day in, day out to become an overnight success. And I think a lot of people just assume that you can just dive into this thing and just like, boom, it's going to happen. It's going to work. But, you know, each person has to prepare themselves, even while you're still in the marriage, you know, for that long-term success. Sometimes it's not going to be an overnight thing. It's going to be one of those things you press at, you struggle with, you pray about, you know, you work on, you buy books, you know, you consult with, you know, wise people to make sure that over the long haul, it looks like everything is great. Everyone's like, wow, how do you do it? And you're like, wow, there's a whole lot of effort and a whole lot of, you know, struggle and work that was behind this. But on the outside, it looks, you know, you make it look easy.
Yeah, everybody talks about the highlight reel. Like that's what's posted. That's what's talked about. That's what's shared, because nobody always wants to see a horrible relationship or hear about the messiness of marriage or hear about the loneliness in marriage. People don't always want to know that everything isn't always going to be kissing and cuddling and going out and enjoying each other's company. Sometimes it's falling asleep in the middle of a conversation because you're absolutely exhausted. Sometimes it's walking around with your hair wrapped up and not exactly cute because you just don't have the time. You need to clean up. You don't have time to make yourself look cute every moment. Sometimes it's eating cereal instead of having a steak dinner. I mean, marriage is a whole lot more than just being in love. Marriage is deciding to choose love every day and to stick it out even when you don't understand what's happening. That's what I would think.
I agree.
And I think that it's also one question that we did have was how do you remove yourself so that you're able to see the bigger picture? I think that's a part of it, is actively saying, okay, what's the bigger picture? What am I doing here? Before you respond, before you do anything, and seeing what is your goal in the relationship? What is your goal in the interaction? What do you want to happen by your connection? That's, I think, how you remove yourself from the bigger picture and see it. Want to do the next question?
Let's do it.
Okay. So the next question that I have is, how have you changed as people since you've been together? I don't know.
So I would say maybe not as visible in a macro perspective, but when you look at like there's a lot of micro things you have to change to be married. I mean, I have to wear like more clothes in the house because it's colder than I would have it normally. So
who wants to sweat in their house?
I wear a Scully to bed every night. Every night.
Because you like to sleep in like 80 degrees.
As we said, there's some macro things, there's some micro things you have to adjust to. And yes, you know, sometimes you have to concede to the other person's needs as required. And then I think I've learned that I had, and I'm still working on, like, you know, I guess levels of pettiness. And what I mean by pettiness is those little things that other people do. Like when I was a kid, my mom would I'd put a cup of orange juice, I'd sip most of it down and put it back in the fridge so I could finish it later. My mom would pour those cups out, and it would drive me crazy. My wife sometimes does similar things, and
I don't pour your juice out though.
She didn't put juice out, but she will sometimes do similar things that, you know, they're incredibly tiny, insignificant, minute things, but they just, for whatever reason, they can get under your skin. And I'm not easy to get under my skin, but there's certain things like I don't get, if there's one person at a stoplight, I get another lane. Sometimes my wife drives and she gets right behind that person, and then she gets upset when they don't pull off right away. I'm like, why would you do that
I
to
don't
yourself?
always get upset when
She
they
doesn't
don't
always
pull
get
off.
upset, but sometimes she does. And I'm like, why would you get behind them if you know you could potentially get upset about this? Duh.
Because
so I guess
it's
my
not
point
a
is,
race.
it's not a race, yeah. Anyway, my point is that there are some things on a micro level that I've had to kind of address in myself, like those little knick-knack things that are incredibly almost important to you as an individual, but in a relationship, you probably are too zeroed in on yourself, and it's really more important about what's going to make this relationship work as opposed to how I necessarily feel about, like how she if the toilet paper is rolled over or under, which I still look at sometimes, and I'll just change it. Just do that sometimes. Sometimes you got to make an executive decision and just turn the toilet paper around so it comes over so you can see it coming to you instead of coming under where you're blind reaching for it. Little stuff like that I used to be very petty about. And so now I can just, put that little salve on. It's like, it's all good. Everything's okay. And this really isn't that serious. Like in the grand scheme of things, I'm not going to love her less. And I'm definitely not want to be someone who's going to try to exacerbate the situation or make things worse because I'm petty in certain things, or I have my own way of doing things, and I deem those to be truer and more right than the way she does things. So those are some things I've had to adjust in a more micro level. But I think I may be a little bit more mellow. I'm definitely a lot sleepier. That's probably more attributed to kids than it is my wife. But there's also a matter of like sometimes you got to stay up late to like pray or read and some of those other things when you try to spend time with your family. And so there's different levels of sacrifice, I think, from a macro perspective I've done, but most of it's been micro, like, tightening the screws, changing out some lights and different things like that.
If I was going to, just listening to Rob, because when I first asked the question, I was like, I don't know how I've changed. I would think that actually how I've changed the most since we've been together is I have become less of a people person in the sense of people dictating how I feel. Like I don't always have to respond to every text message, every email immediately. I don't have to go to every event. It's okay if I'm unavailable. It's okay if I can't do the job. It's okay if I put me first. Rob has really helped me to see that I need to invest in myself. I need to invest in my home life before I invest in everywhere else first and foremost, or even at all, because sometimes it's okay to say no. It's okay to be like, I just don't have the time. And quite frankly, I don't want to come and I don't want to do it. Like, I like you, but I just don't. Like, I just don't want to do it. And before, when we first started dating, it mattered to me what people wanted me to do, when they needed me to do it, how they wanted me to do it. I was trying to do everything perfectly within their constraints, and I was absolutely exhausted and worn out and stretched thin. But being loved by someone who said, you come first, helped me to actually do that myself. So I would say that would be one of the biggest ways that I've adjusted, I think, in our marriage. Since we've been married, I should say. Not in our marriage, but since we've been married.
Why don't we do this now? Why don't you tell me how I've changed for the good?
I can actually answer that.
And I'll tell you how you changed for the good.
Oh, that's so cute.
That's cute. It's good. It's good, right? It's good.
Okay, so how you have changed for the good since we've been together is you've always been considerate of me, but I would say that you're softer around the edges. You are very blunt. You don't hold any punches. If you feel a certain way about something, that's it. For example, I like if someone tells me that, oh, that dress looks really nice on you, or your hair looks pretty. And at first, Robbie wasn't saying anything. I was like, do I not look cute? Like, what's up? Like, do I need to change my outfit? Those types of things. And you're like, no, I thought you knew that I find you attractive or that you look nice. But in our marriage, he's learned to actually speak those things over me and to tell me, hey, I like how you look, or I like that on you, or to tell me when I've done something well. I think that also in our marriage, in a way that he's grown, is trying to figure out what it is I need. Because sometimes I can't articulate everything, but he is one of the best people at, look, if she wants something, if there's something bothering her, I'm going to figure it out. If I can't get it from her, I'm going to call either her best friend or I'm going to call her mom. I'm going to figure it out to make sure that at the end of the day, my wife knows that she matters. And that's something that I've loved since we've gotten married. It's been a beautiful progression for me to realize how much you care about me and how much you are willing to do to make sure that I'm happy.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome, honey.
It's not paid. This is real. This is raw.
Actually, it is. I didn't know you were going to ask me that.
Nope. Not getting any gifts for this. Already got the gift, so we're all good. Yeah, so I think Petra did kind of describe some of the ways that she's really improved. One of the things I think in any relationship is everyone has certain deficiencies. And so Petra's one of the things that we all have, and I know I have because of my bluntness, is I have blind spots. So there's she talked about the softening around the edges, but there's also just plain old blind spots because you're trying to move forward. You're limited on time and resources and all those things. So you're looking to make, it's like, got to make a decision now. I think she has changed in such a way that she's able to communicate to me so that I can hear her. So, some people nag you. Wife is really not a nag at all. That's just fantastic because that's something I always was concerned about with someone being with someone and just always, not that I mind being critiqued, but there's a level of critique that lacks love, lacks patience, lacks the fact that you just aren't always the ideal. Mm-hmm. And so she's been very good about helping communicate her desires for me to help me become better. And I think that also, like I said, that helps me to be able to, number one, be a better person, but also be more appreciative of her because she's crafty, y'all. She's a lawyer. You know what I mean? She's got a JD. So she says things, and something I picked up on is like, look, that's lawyer speak. I know how that goes. You know what you're trying to do. But it's always good to have someone who will not try to dress you down, but will, give you the truth and then try to help build you back up. So I think that's where she's really improved as far as her delivery to me. And I think that's been really great for us.
Oh, that's sweet.
Yeah.
So the next one that we have is, if you could give advice to yourself when you began your marriage, what would it be? I know, right?
Oh, you want to get that? Oh, mm-hmm. Thank you. It's a good question. Is the question like, what would you do? What if you had like some foreknowledge?
If you could give advice to yourself when you began your marriage, what would it be? So I guess if you have foreknowledge, I guess. Okay.
So if I had foreknowledge, what would I do differently? From a marriage perspective, man, it's a good question. What would I do differently if I had some more foreknowledge? I would probably...
But I don't know if it was... But it just says if you could give advice to yourself when you began your marriage, what would it be?
That's what I'm saying. I'm thinking about it from the standpoint of what would I do differently if I knew in advance, because then I could tell myself that I know. So it's like foreknowledge. Man, what would I do differently? I would probably be a little bit less aggressive, a little bit more thoughtful. Not to say I'm not thoughtful, because I think Petra thinks I am thoughtful, but I would be more thoughtful of my thoughtfulness. So maybe I dig a little bit deeper into my thoughtfulness as opposed to like, she'll like this, or thinking about things that maybe she likes, maybe she'll enjoy, maybe it'll be good, and maybe digging a little bit deeper into that thought process. Because I know because sometimes we do stuff for the other person, for us. So it's like a selfish type of giving and action that's really, and granted, in a marriage, if you do things right, you get the benefit too, right? Because you're one. So if I do something for her, I win. If she's happy, I win. So at the same time, if I had to do something in advance, I mean, I would have probably spoken to her the day that I met her and moved along a little bit faster. That'd probably been the one. There's not a whole lot I would do differently. I'd probably do that. The only thing I really do differently is I would have spoken to her the first day maybe cracked a few, fewer jokes that first. Hey, look, you were walking ahead. I just was calling you back.
Yeah. Okay.
All right.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, I think if I would have spoken to her that day and addressed some things, but it was very. I will say this, and this isn't to be like corny, but it was a very magical time, and it still is a very magical time. But it was really like a, like a movie. It was very movie, like a storybook that someone wrote out, like a script that someone did for our lives.
Yeah.
So I would have just been probably more aggressive that first day. But I think after that, everything's really moved.
Hmm?
I can't think.
We
It's
met.
hard.
It went really fast. It went really, really fast.
It was a fast, slow time. It was like 20 months. 20 months?
Yeah, 20 months from the day that we met, we got married. Mm-hmm.
But it went so fast.
Mm-hmm.
It's a really good question. I don't know that we do a whole lot differently. The one thing I would say is that early on, we probably get in each other's face and pray more. Like sit there and just maybe pray a bit more.
Because let's put a caveat on that though, because while he's thinking about more, because I know that he's still thinking about more, we actually did Bible studies together. We did pray together, but because we lived in separate cities, we weren't able to do it together. So a lot of times our Bible studies happened when we were out of the city, but when he was here visiting me, because Robbie would come every weekend to see me, we were doing things like we were trying to date during that time. So thank you.
Got it.
So we didn't actually do our Bible studies in person. I think maybe once or twice we did it in person, but I agree with him. If I would give myself advice, do it every day that you're together. Like even if it's over the phone, if it's just on chat, because we would do video chat or in person, just do it consistently.
That's a good question, though.
I think that for me, if I could give myself advice before I got married, knowing what I know now, is to trust the process. I think that would be the thing, because there was a point, I mean, I knew that Robbie was going to be my husband. Like, I think we knew pretty early, like 3 weeks in, like this was going to be it.
I knew earlier than that, just, it took her a while to catch up, but hey.
Either way, we knew early that we were going to be together for forever. But I got a little anxious at one point because I was like, okay, when are we going to get engaged so I can start planning, because I'm in law school and I'm going to graduate and I need to know what we're going to do, because when I move, blah, 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 because I'm not moving unless we're married. You know what I mean? So I was like, there are certain things that, and that's actually the way the conversation happened. I'm not leaving my daddy's house and all these things until we know what we're doing. And he kind of tricked me into thinking that we weren't going to get married until the following, not married, engaged until the following year. So I was a little bummed, and I allowed my heart to kind of feel a certain type of way. So I got distracted from realizing it doesn't matter when he proposes to you. You know you're going to get married. You know it's not going to be in 5 years. You know that this man is not going to string you along. He's already told you, I know that you're my wife. We're going to get married. So it worked itself out. But I would definitely tell myself to trust the process. I would also tell myself, do more crock pot dinners, like in real life.
That would work. That is something I would do more of.
For real.
Yeah.
Like,
yes, that would be.
Cooking every day. I don't care if it's fish sticks, gets old. And I hate grocery shopping. So if you can do crock pot cooking where it can, you do it on Sunday, you have it for the first half of the week, that eliminates the time that you're spending over the stove. And I'm looking at him because he does the majority of cooking in our home now. Eliminates time in the grocery store. Those are things that you need to do, because you need to, and what I would tell myself is you need to really find ways to cut down on outside activities that take away from your actual quality time together, because we both work full-time jobs. So coming home, we don't have much time together at all.
That's a good one.
And if you're spending it cooking dinner, bathing the babies, cleaning the house, you don't have any time to sit down and just be in each other's face and just say, you're pretty amazing and I'm super excited I get time with you today.
Especially if you have kids, I think it's just about taking whatever steps you can to make time. Because we'll talk and be like, at the end of the day, and be exhausted, just be in the bed talking and just like whispering to each other so the boys don't hear us.
Yes.
But I think, that's fair. That's fair. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
I would definitely. I mean, that's
actually a good idea for tonight. After this thing, yes.
I'm going to bed after this.
Okay. It's a really good idea, though. That's really good. That's inspired.
Oh, thank you, honey. Okay, what do you have?
Oh, on this list?
Mm-hmm.
Let me see.
What was the biggest change from dating to marriage? I'll let you look up those. The biggest change for us was living together, sharing space. Robbie has to step away for a second. I say that separately because living together and sharing space are two different things. Like having someone constantly by your side is totally different. You can live together and not be by each other all the time. One of the biggest differences after we got married was we got to have sex. Let me just be really honest with you. I mean, look, if we're talking about biblical relationships and what you're holding out for, there you go. And that was a process too. Let's talk about that. Let's while he's away, and so he can't stop me from having like super candid conversation. You don't have to settle. Like legit, if you want to wait and that is your goal to save it for your marriage, save it for your marriage. There is nothing more beautiful than that first time with your spouse. If God has ordained someone for you, you don't have to worry about what it's going to be like. I can guarantee you that. If he created you for them, you were already, everything's going to fit. Everything's going to work. It's all going to come together. I promise you on that. So that was one of the things that was different from dating to marriage. Also, the fact that I no longer lived in my parents' home. I went from living in my parents' home to living with my husband. There was no in between for me. Which was good. So I always had a spiritual covering. I always had someone looking out for me. That was kind of like a silent accountability partner kind of thing. So that was really good. I think that for me, going from dating to marriage would probably be that I kind of got my best friend literally in my space all the time. Because like I can tell Robbie anything. It doesn't really matter. And sometimes I'm not even telling him and he's reading my mind like, oh, did you see this or did you think about this? And it's like, oh yeah, I was just about to call you about that. I was about to text you about that. So that was nice too. You kind of have a built-in person. And most of you know how much I treasure friendship. And so to have someone who lives with me that kind of just gets me is pretty great.
All right. What's the question? Sorry.
What's the biggest change from dating to marriage?
Oh, everything. Everything changes. Everything changes. I mean, what's the biggest change? I mean, everything.
What's a change? Yeah.
Everything changes. I mean, I think you were saying this. Like, it goes from being around someone part of the time to being like around them all the time. Mm-hmm. That's a big change for a lot of people. You know, it's like having it. You know, it's easy to go on with your friends because you see them sometimes, but you don't have to be. You have to experience your friends all the time. Because sometimes people, you'll travel together, but like, I don't like her. I don't like this dude. This dude's nasty, you know.
Ooh. So
I'm sure we've had a lot of people had those kind of conversations or experiences. So yeah, that same stuff happens in a marriage. You get together and you're like, hey, it was great, man. Dating was great. You know, we hung out. You know, I dropped off at 9 and all this stuff was good. And then it's like, ooh, after 9, this is awful. Right. Not that it's awful, but you get to experience all of it. Mm-hmm. And so I mean, that's why you have to make vows, right? You have to make a commitment because you may find some things you don't like, mm-hmm. You may find some things you don't enjoy. Mm-hmm. Like I said, I found a lot about like the little petty things that would, you know, like I don't have no closet space. You know, I could be petty about that. I could be, you know, I joke about it now. It hurts, but you know, I've grown past it.
What clothes do you need to put in the closet?
See, it's always the same argument. What clothes you need to put in the closet? Why you got so many clothes? You're saying you could easily go tit for tat back and forth. But those are some of the things that you don't get to experience when you are dating because you're in your own, you still have your own space, mm-hmm. right? And then all that changes right away. Like it's all shared space. Now, granted, I have a twin brother, so I'm used to sharing stuff, but I still lived by myself for a period of time, so I was used to not sharing stuff. All of a sudden, you know, you're sharing everything. You know, she may grab your toothbrush one day, and I don't like sharing my toothbrush. Why you grab my toothbrush? You couldn't find yours? You couldn't grab a new one, a fresh one? What's wrong? Little stuff like that. It's easy to get annoyed by, you know? People that like leaving you a sip in the fridge. You ever seen that? Ever had that happen? Like,
I mean, because I didn't want that
and they call it being thoughtful.
It is. I thought you may want it. I didn't
need
it.
Little stuff. I mean, but all that happens. But if I left funny thing is, if I left myself a sip, it'd be fine. But because you didn't think about, you left me upset, now I'm upset. It's all that kind of crazy stuff happens that would never happen when you're solo. So it's a lot of when I say everything changes, I think most stuff changes. Like you sharing the bathroom.
Actually, yes.
Sharing the bathroom.
But we actually don't.
And actually, we don't share the bathroom.
I'm about to say we actually don't share a bathroom.
We've actively avoided that conversation for the most part.
Yeah, we don't do that.
But I mean, I'm sure for some people that's the reality. Like you got to share a bathroom. You know, you got to deal with, you know, his sink, her sink. You know,
yeah, we don't really
him shaving over here. You know, her having all the rest of it.
Yeah, it's rare.
You know, so I think everything changed, but not in a bad way. It's just you get a fuller and richer experience of the person. You get to see, you know, you can't hide stuff when you're right there. You know, if you snore, you find out right away, you know,
real quick.
You know, whatever it is, you know, you find out immediately. So I would say from that perspective, a lot of things changed, but it's not for the worse. It's just, you know, it's one of those things you get it all. And that's what you asked for, right? So the good, the bad, and the everything in between.
I agree.
Yeah.
I think we have time for one last question. Did you have one on the list that you wanted to answer?
Let me see.
Because I think I've answered all of those I have.
Oh, did you? Which one do you like?
I don't know. I don't know. We did have a question about how do we make it look easy. That is not our goal, our intent. It's just
nothing's easy.
Yeah, nothing's.
There's absolutely nothing easy.
Nothing's
I
easy.
say
But
nothing's
I think,
easy.
Well,
that's not true.
I was gonna say there are things that are easy, and if you've made commitments and determine how you're going to communicate, and determine how you honor each other, going to determine what your interactions are going to be with people outside of your relationship, when you determine what your activities are going to be, what your level of investment is going to be outside of your home and within your home, things are easier. But nothing is perfect. Nothing is easy. Social media makes it seem like that. Sometimes social media can take up your time. Social media can make you sad when you see all of these other really super perfect relationships. You're like, ooh, they do this, they dress together, they dress alike, their kids look perfectly groomed, they have all of these sweet things going on. But in reality, nothing's easy, but it's worth it. And if it's worth it to you, you'll work it with fervor and with happiness. And in the end, that's all that matters. It's not going to be easy, but if it's worth it, it's cool. We don't intend to make it look easy. We intend to make it look like what it is. So when we're happy, we're happy. If we're not happy, we're not sharing that with you because it's our home. And like we said, we protect our peace. And if you're always sharing what's going on in your private time, then people are in your marriage. So how many people are you married to? I don't believe in sister wives. It's just me living in this house. All right. So that's how we do it. So we don't always share all the good stuff, and we certainly don't share all the bad stuff. But we take into account that the reality of being ordained for someone requires that we share his glory with others. So we share with others the beautiful areas and aspects of marriage and also the work that's behind it.
Yeah. So I don't think there's nothing that's easy. But the things that are easy, it's also a matter of you. We agreed to make certain things easy early on, right? So there's certain things you're like, you know, we're not even going to have arguments about this. I mean, very early we said, hey, we're going to learn to table things and we'll come back to them later based on how important they really are. And based on how important they really are, we'll determine, you know, how quickly you need to, address them. Mm-hmm. So certain things you can definitely make easy. Mm-hmm. Getting out of yourself sometimes can make things easier so that you can take active steps to, learn and grow each other so that you can make things easier. But I think in general, I think most people know I have a twin, and we don't fight anymore. But we still have arguments, and we're very much alike. So if that happens with someone who you've known your entire life, from literally day one to now, it's bound to happen with someone who you are trying to get to know essentially over the course of a lifetime, right? And learn more about over the course of a lifetime. So there's certain things that will be easy. There's certain things where, obviously you're together. So there's certain aspects of you where y'all have, you have agreement already. So,
or you're just similar on.
Yeah. I mean, so build upon that. Start there, build upon that, And I would say always remember, I think we take a lot of time to look at our differences and make
Yes,
those
we talked about
things
those things.
a problem. But we tend to forget, if you go through a relationship, you'll forget about the good aspects of the person, and why you're with them and why they're well suited for you. So you can make certain things easy. I would say, if you're willing to put in the work, you can make a lot of things easy. Practice makes perfect, and perfect practice really makes perfect. So doing those things, and then just find out what works for your relationship.
Yeah.
Find out what works best for you. It may not be the same things that we do, but we have our formula, you have your formula, and there's going to be obviously some crossover and overlap, but you're two unique. You're two unique people. Find where you have your differences. Find where you have the things you like. Find the things that you can just say it's not that important, and it'll make things a lot easier.
Yeah, I would agree. I would agree.
I think so.
Okay.
That's all the questions I had.
Okay.
Did you have any more?
I think we've kind of covered everything. The majority of the things that you guys have sent to us. We're just gonna close with the 5 things that we've learned in our 5 years of marriage, or almost 5 years of marriage. It's almost our anniversary. 5 things that I've learned is to tell each other that we love you often. No one should affirm more than I do. I've learned that myself, just because I know that I also need that. There is no one that wants Robert more than I do. There is no one that finds him more attractive. There is no one that is more stimulated by him. There is no one that is more proud of him. There is no one that is more invested in him than I am. And we should be constantly telling each other that. I think that the second thing that I've learned is to protect our peace is huge. We protect the peace of our home. The third thing is to say no to certain things. And that's even to each other. If there's something that you just don't like, you're not comfortable with, just tell each other. You don't have to hold it in. You don't have to suck it up. Now, some things you do have to compromise on, but things that hurt your core or make you uncomfortable or take you to a place that you're just not supposed to be in, it's okay to share that with your spouse. The fourth thing is set goals and then meet your goals and then exceed your goals. We did that when we were dating. We set our goals for what we want 5 years into our marriage. We've met almost all of the goals on our list. I think there's maybe like 1 or 2 that we haven't met and that we're actually actively working on right now. And because we've set those goals, we have something to look forward to, and that keeps us motivated. I think the fifth thing is understanding that expectations that we have come in with, they're not always going to be met, and that's okay, because we came with expectations having never been married. And so we had no idea what to expect. And so to put that on the other person is kind of unrealistic. Also, to understand that expectations change. My expectations of him are different. My expectations of our marriage are different. My expectation of the relationships that we have with outside people to our marriage are different. Like, we seek out certain types of friends now. We seek out certain types of community connections. Those types of things are different. So realizing that expectations will fluctuate, and it is okay if your partner does not meet every one of your expectations, as long as you are within God's will. Just pray over each other if certain things just aren't there. If you're feeling let down in certain areas, pray about them, seek godly counsel, talk to your accountability partner, but talk to your spouse first. That would be the 5 things that I've learned.
That's fine. That's good. Okay. Right. Thanks. I got to do 5 now. 5 things that you learn. 5 things, 1 a year. So year 1, I would say marriage in a way is like going hiking with some gear, but definitely not all of it. And you're going like into the wilderness, and you really got to like figure out that we are in the trenches together, right? We're going to survive this thing. We're going to figure out a way to make it, right? So I would say, for year 1 it's really just going through that process and accepting the fact that you go out there, you know something, but you really know a whole lot of nothing. Mm-hmm. You really don't know. It's hard. You can't, right? So you can't know much. Year 2, kids change things.
I'm about to say that's what Jack.
Yeah, kids change things. Kids change a lot of things, but they should change things for the better. And your marriage comes first, and so when you focus on yourselves, it makes it a whole lot easier for everything else to flow. Especially when you're adding people to the mix.
You have to be solid.
Yeah. So build yourselves up, and that'll help you. I'll help you be able to care for your kids better. Year 3. Wow, year 3 was 2015.
This one you got pregnant with Sterling about the house.
Wow, that happened fast. Yeah, year three may be that sometimes it's okay to be boring. It's okay to be a little bored, because in that kind of like where it seems like things are very static, a lot of stuff may be about to happen. So I would say that even when things aren't moving the way you expect them to, and you may want them to, or very quickly, I think it's very important to, even when things seem like it's calm waters, they could very quickly be heading towards a waterfall. Not say that waterfall disaster, but just things can change very quickly. So to always once again, to kind of make sure that you don't need the exciting times to say our marriage is good. Sometimes the very quiet, simple times are extremely undervalued. So I think at that time, that's where we really appreciated. Hey, we just have some, quietness and peace. It's just us. There's not much going on. Year 4, I would say, start drinking coffee. That was my lesson learned. Yeah, it was for me. Learn the powers of caffeine. But more importantly, I don't think God's going to put more on you than you can bear. From what I understand, is what people tell me. So when you're blessed with children, you're blessed with increase, you're blessed with different things. Be very good. Do your best to be very good stewards about it. Like, talk to each other, understand how you want to be able to care for different things in your lives, and understand that it's okay to be tired. Because anytime you finish a race, you're tired, right? But the point is, if you're not tired, you didn't run hard. And so you'll know that. So make sure you run hard. Make sure you're giving it your all. We have a limited amount of time here, so there's nothing wrong with pushing it all the way to the limit. And then year 5, I would say is, I would say for me, it's just to listen. Having 2 kids, having a wife, there's a lot more noise in the house. And it's less than me making the noise. So, because I sing sometimes.
He does. He's actually really loud, guys.
And so it's kind of being able to hear what's being said with your wife, with your kids, even when they can't speak and communicate in the way we would expect them to, but really learning to listen and understand and respond in a way that's appropriate. Our kids are very important to us. Obviously, we're very important to us. So we try to do our best to sit there, listen to each other, hear each other saying, read between the lines, ask, more revealing questions. Because sometimes you can be going through it with your spouse and you're trying to withhold it from them to keep a burden off of them when you're there together to share that burden. So sometimes, things may be getting a little bit heavier at times, and you just need to be able to listen. And so listen to your kids can help you with that, but obviously listen to your spouse is the first thing you want to do, so you understand how we can be steady and stable. And once that ship's steady and stable, we'll tow everybody else in.
Agreed. So I think that about wraps up our discussion. Thank you for everyone who spent this hour with us, just sharing with you all some of the things that we learned. We hope that it was helpful. We'd love to hear your thoughts. We will answer any questions that you guys send us. Anything that we did not answer tonight, I will answer in a follow-up post. But I think we covered the majority of it. But I just want to say before we get off, because it is our almost anniversary, I am super, super appreciative of you, honey. I am thankful to be married to someone like you. But I'm more thankful that you took a chance on me. You didn't know what it was like.
Reward.
But, I love you a lot.
Love you too.
We're gonna be together.
And sometimes you don't have a
forever.
choice. You know, you just like you don't have a choice when God pushes you in that direction.
That's actually very true. That's very,
Best to
very
get
true.
going.
It is. It is. But I am super thankful for you. I'm thankful for the life that we have together. I'm thankful for the life that you are building for us. I'm thankful for the sacrifices that you make. So happy almost anniversary, honey.
In year 6, I need to learn to get used to hugs more. But we'll go ahead and close this thing and get to hugging.
Bye, guys.
Y'all take care. Just slide back into the picture.
Whoop.